everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be talking about unique YA reads. So I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I'll get stuck in a rut with my reading because I read so much YA, and sometimes it just all starts to look the same. Like, I feel like I'm reading the same story over and over again, just with different character names, a different world name, and just everything is the same thing over and over again, and it just gets very tiresome. Because really, YA is lacking a lot of diversity in two senses of the word. So today I'm going to be talking specifically about the one sense. I will talk about the other sense in another video at a later date, but today I'm going to be talking about some books that have differences in plot. Like, they're just kind of weird reads for whatever reason. They're very unique and kind of outside of the box, and they're books that you feel like you haven't read before. So the first book on my list is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. This book is just weird because of all of the kind of voodoo things that are going on. I can't really think of the word for it right now, but there's a lot of that sort of thing, like superstition. I can't even think of it. Like, what is the word that I'm looking for right now? This is the worst. But it's all about Blue and the Raven Boys and their adventures on trying to find this Welsh king who is supposed to be dead, but people think that he has been just sleeping for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So they go on this crazy adventure. She lives in a family of psychics. You know, if she lives in a family of psychics, it's just bound to get weird, and it is just a very unique story, such a unique world to get lost in. There's so many facets to it, and it's so intricately woven. Like, there are just so many things going on in it that it is so unique. That was a really bad description, but this is one of the books that I really struggle to summarize, to be honest, so that's as good as it's gonna get. And I do have a review for this book, so maybe I summarize it better there, I don't know, but it is spoiler free and I will link it down below for you guys. Next up is actually a recent read for me, and that is Carvalho by Stephenie Garber. This is the UK edition. I've actually lent out my Canadian edition to a friend to read because I love this book so much. Like, I don't generally lend out books, so if I'm lending out a book, you know it's good. But I loved this story because it's this very unique reimagining of kind of a carnival or a circus. It's a darker reimagining of it. It is a little bit similar to the Night Circus, but not so much that it's still not unique. It takes its own spin on it and has this whole adventure where you're trying to kind of figure out these clues and put the whole story together along with the characters, and you have no clue what's going on the whole entire time. You can't really tell reality from imagination throughout the whole story, and that's what makes it very unique and awesome. The whole world is unique, everything about it is amazing, and the magic system is just unreal. I did do a whole spoiler-free review as well as a spoiler discussion, which I will link down below for you guys, as well as any others that I have for any of the other books I mentioned in the rest of the video. But I highly recommend that you check this one out. I've mentioned it so many times on my channel, probably getting sick of me saying it, and I'm probably hyping it up too much for you, but I just really loved it. Next up is the Illuminate Files by Amie, Kaufman, and Kristoff. This book is really unique in the format that it's told. Like, it is told in this whole multimedia format that is crazy and weird and just insane. I can't even imagine how long this took to put together because holy crap. And even in Gemina, in the second book of this trilogy, there's illustrations in it. So like, how long did this take to put together? But the fact that it has those things makes it such a unique story, and it really just comes to life, and it's terrifying, and you feel like it's real, and just you get so immersed in the world, and it is just a amazingly unique read. Next up is Meconium by Maria Devana Headley. This is probably the weirdest book that I've ever read because it's about this girl who she can't breathe on Earth, but then she ends up dying, but she ends up in Megonia, which is like this space pirate. They're pirates that are in the sky, and there's all these birds, and like she can breathe there. It's so weird. It's such a weird world, but it was really cool because it was so unique, and it was an interesting world to kind of get yourself lost in and try and put the pieces together along with the characters. So I did really enjoy this one. Next up is Incarnate by Jody Meadows. This book has such an interesting world because basically what has happened is the same million souls have been reincarnating. I think it's million. No, it's 1,000 souls have been reincarnating for millions and millions of years. And then all of a sudden, one of those souls doesn't come back, and instead we have our main character, Anna, who ends up coming back, and she's a new soul, and there have been no new souls for millions of years, so she's really kind of an outcast in this community. So the world was crazy for this. The whole concept was so interesting, like dealing with reincarnation, and there's some really creepy things that happen in this book that had me like, ugh, kind of give me the heebie-jeebies. And this whole series, I was just like, how could you have the imagination to create this? That's really what I think makes an amazing, unique read, and this one definitely definitely hits the bar for that. Next up is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom. This story is so unique because it has all of these weird children who have all these weird peculiarities, and it also has pictures in it. And from my understanding, I'm pretty sure I have it right, but Ransom Riggs actually went to like flea markets and stuff and found these pictures, and there has been like little to no editing on them, and he used them and built the story around them, which is so cool, such a unique concept. And all these children with their peculiarities and kind of the world that he builds with the peculiars is amazing, and like nothing I've read before. That's why whenever someone comes into work looking for a book that is like Miss Peregrine's, I'm like, oh, why you gotta do me like that? Because there's like nothing. I do, like, usually I'll recommend Raven Boys or like Asylum. There are some, but like there's nothing that's exactly like this. It is just so out there. Next up is My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Jody Meadows, and Brody Ashton. This book is really weird because it's a historical fiction, but it is so funny because some of the characters turn into animals. So there's like the people who do turn into animals, and then there's the people who don't, and it's kind of an allegory for what was going on at the time, that whole concept, but there's such a divide between them. It was so interesting, hilarious, and I just highly recommend it. Like, I've never read a historical fiction like this with such an intrusive narrator that's just kind of poking fun at everything that's happening, and they're literally like, okay, we're following history a little bit here, but then they're like, yeah, now we're just throwing it out the window and doing whatever we want, which was just awesome. It's really a story that shouldn't work, but it does, and I think that's what makes it really unique. Next up is The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. This story is super unique because it's all about a girl who was born with wings. It's a magical realism, and I love magical realism, which is basically, it's kind of like, it's not like urban fantasy or low fantasy, which is a fantasy where you can return to reality. It is a fantastical element that takes place in the real world. I hope that made sense to you, but it is like so cool to follow the generations of this family and finally get to Ava Lavender, and like, you're never really given an explanation as to why she has her wings, which I think is what makes it kind of a beautiful story, is the fact that it's just a thing. Like, it's so unique, the fact that there's a girl with wings. I mean, I don't know how else I could explain how unique it is, because like, come on, it's magical realism. It's amazing. Next up is Ink by Amanda Sun, and this book is unique because it's all about this girl who, she meets this guy and she realizes that he's an artist and whatever, which is awesome, but his drawings are starting to come to life. So she's seeing that and she's like, what the heck is going on? So this kind of deals with mythology a little bit, Japanese mythology, and it has this really cool concept of the gods, and like, it was just such an interesting read for me and so beautiful, and I actually really need to continue with the series because I did really enjoy this one, and I think I want to know where the story is going. Next up is Unwind by Neal Shusterman. This is a dystopian story, and dystopian is especially hard to find unique reads in there, but Neal Shusterman has a couple that are really out there, and this one is definitely one of them. I've only read the first book. I don't have any plans to continue with it just because I don't really have an interest in continuing with the duology, or the dystology rather is what it's called. He wrote those like way after he wrote this one, so I just don't really have an interest in it, but it's all about basically what has happened to the world is abortion is illegal up until the age of 13. So once you hit 13, your parents can decide to like just basically unwind you is what it's called. So you will be harvested for your body parts and they will live on in like other people. There's one scene in this book that was the scariest thing I've ever read in my life. Like, it is just the creepiest concept, but so unique, really cool, but like, whoo, it's a mind bender. And the final book on this list is More Than This by Patrick Ness. This is a book that you kind of want to go into not knowing a lot. You don't want to know the genre or anything because it kind of spoils it. Basically, this guy wakes up in a coffin. Like, what the heck? He drowned and then he wakes up in a coffin. So that's the whole concept of it. And from there, it just gets weirder. So those are all the unique reads that I wanted to talk about today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what some of your favorite unique reads are. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!